Hello all, thank you for tuning in to the Will Fix It team. I want to show you how to work on an old Ford fuel injection. We're going to test the throttle position sensor the old school way, and we're going to fix a running problem that I hope will help you. By the way, just an intro to this video, this vehicle had really hard starts, a very erratic idle, and very shoddy part throttle operations where if you just barely crack the throttle, it just try to cut off like you had a bad fuel pump or distributor. So stick around. This gets very easily technical to help you out. And thank you all. Here we go. So today we're going to be doing some older school fuel injection diagnosing. And this truck that I got is a 92 F150, and it's got a really erratic idle problem. And also it's not taking the throttle very well. It idles up, it idles down. Throttle response is wonky. And we're going to test a few components to see if we can pin this down. Now, being it's a 92, you don't really get codes out of it very well. And I just messing around, I said, let me just check something that's kind of a common issue, because it's a movable part. What I mean is it's constantly being used, and it has external elements that can affect it, which is the throttle position sensor, which is a variable resistor. And right over here in my computer, you can see I've got a little bit of a schematic pulled up of the wiring diagram. So we're going to test the sweep on it and just see what it shows on a multimeter to see if we see any kind of blips in that. So what we've got now is the color code, so we know where the center point is. That's where you're going to hook one of your leads to. And the center point of that throttle position sensor, you're going to sweep up one end and sweep down the other. It just depends on what lead that you're on. And you see a smooth transition through the resistance. You shouldn't see any kind of like spikes and numbers, dips and numbers, or no movement at all. So we've got a gray white at the bottom left. We've got a brown white on the bottom right, and we've got a gray red on the top, which looks like it's just to be the actual ground, because you can see it all goes together in one grounding bar, possibly. I don't know where gray red goes, but maybe that's a ground because of it, the common hook together. But basically, we're going to go under the hood of the truck. So we're under the hood of the truck, and I have a new sensor because I suspect the old one's bad. I haven't installed it yet, but I needed to be able to kind of figure out where we're at. And so as you can see, our color code's right there. And so we'll go back to our diagram and we'll see which one is the center one. Oh, wait, right click. So we'll zoom in. So according to our schematic here, the gray white is our center point where we're going to hook one of our leads. And then we'll test both sides of the sensor to see how the up and down sweep is. So we'll look for gray white, and looks like it's this very end one right here. So I'm going to take this take a little Sharpie marker, and I'm going to dot that green wire so I can remember, but I think I can remember. It's not, so they change colors on the sensor, so knowing where it's at in the actual pigtail gives you a little bit of an idea. So the green on the connector is our center tap on this variable resistor on the gray white. According to, just making sure that's gray. Yeah, gray. We got two grays. One's a gray white, one's a gray red. You can see the gray red over there to the right. So gray white, that's the magic number. So let's go over to the bench where we have the old sensor still on the throttle body, and I'll set the camera up. I'm just going to give you an idea of what I'm doing here. I've got the old throttle body here, which is a reman unit, which has a relatively new sensor on it, which this may not be the issue. So that we don't waste some money and install a part we don't need, we're going to check this. And I've rigged up a little way of pinning this, and we're going to use some alligator clips and a multimeter. And so let's get that set up where I can show you. So we've got our meter set up, and I kind of moved it a little bit just off camera to see what I was going to be working with here. And it started off at 2. I'm going to open the throttle a little bit and closed it back, and it drops back to 3. But watch when I sweep the throttle, you see it dropped to 2. I started moving the throttle. It should just keep a consistent going up. 11, that's way off. 8,000 ohms, 7,000, 20,000, 14,000, 30,000. Now it's dropped back, and I'm still going progressively forward. We'll go wide open with it. Okay, that doesn't seem right. That doesn't look right at all. And I've got the throttle closed, and we're still at 18,000. One thing you can notice to make sure that this piece on the inside is moving, which it is, but something, now it's back where it needs to be. We'll go back wide open. We'll come back closed. That's weird. I'll go back wide open. half throttle, or at 9 or at 4,000 ohms. It doesn't really, nothing's changing. So let me go to the other side of the sweep and see what things look like. We should see a higher number. So what I was referring to by going to the other side of the sweep was I'm using the green wire and not moving it. You got your black and orange. One side's up and one side is down. And so I had it on the black wire, and now we've went to the orange wire. Yeah. And we've got to make sure we're not touching here. And we should see a higher number, which we do. We see a 4,000, but still that doesn't seem right. And it falls back. That's wide open throttle. That's about half throttle. Not, you know. So in my opinion, that's not working properly. So we'll replace the sensor on the throttle body, and while it's on the bench, we'll just see what kind of numbers we get out of it. So I used a Phillips screwdriver. Sometimes you've got to put vice grips or some small channel locks to get these screws to break loose. But you want the sensor to be able to move with the throttle, because you can then properly install this. And once you get it on and get it centered up, move your throttle and make sure that you don't feel any resistance, like that's like you got the sensor on wrong. And then we're going to recheck here. Okay, so just moving this throttle, like I say, just moving it, making sure that I don't feel it locked. That means I got my sensor on right. I've already got a different number right there. We never saw a number like that. And if this is on the black wire, which is the downside of the sensor, which means we're going to see the numbers increase. We don't see it go open either, by the way. We saw it go open earlier. Well, I thought maybe the meter was just trying to catch up, go open and then come back when I was moving. See a nice smooth transition all the way up through those numbers right there? Look at that. We're going to go all the way up to wide open throttle there. So we're almost at 4,000 ohms. And as I go back, it smoothly transitions back to its place. So what we were seeing with those OLs was an open line or open circuit. That meant that there was blips in that sensor. So we're going to go to the other side of that variable resistor, and we should see a higher number. I did that off camera, and that's what we see now. Now we're on the orange wire. That's the opposite of the black wire. We haven't moved the green wire because that's our center tap on this variable resistor. And we should see a smooth transition to a lower number. Yes, it should go back to where it was on the other wire, the downside of it, that's normal because I went past it a little bit. You know, it resting in its calibrated position is somewhere right around there. But what a smooth transition that is, with no blips, no open lines. That's really good. That's what we want to see right there. And a little thing is there of how this works is this is a potentiometer, and it's got a coating that's on it that kind of like it changes its resistance as you get further along that coating. So imagine your wiper being right here in the middle, and then you're testing on both sides of this right here. So one side, if this thing is resting at this point, would be your least resistance, your most resistance, and vice versa. So that's what you're doing by changing sides. You're on your center tap, that green wire is your wiper right in the middle, and then you're testing on either side of that sensor. Right now, this would be the less resistance, this would be the most resistance. When you go to the other position, most resistance, or vice versa, less resistance, most resistance. You feel me on that? Now, we're going to install this thing. And before, like I said, terrible idle up and down. It would just you know, as soon as you try to blip the throttle to take off because it was a manual, it would try to cut off. And that would be when it go open line. Hard starts are another thing. So let's get it on and see if this thing's going to run right. Hopefully we got it nailed down. Okay, so we're going to start this thing. Neutral switch, by the way, is not hooked up, so I don't have to get in the vehicle. Let's see here. Let's see if it's going to run right. So let's see if my camera is going to focus. There we go. All right, let's see what happens here. Oh, wow. It's really good. It's really, really good. Let's see what happens here. Should idle down here in a minute. Then we're going to see if it'll actually kind of take the throttle like it's supposed to, because that's what this thing, you could just, as soon as you crack the throttle, it would try to stall. If you flipped real hard, it would take the gas, but if you just barely crept on it, it would just about cut off unless you went back to idle. And we're headed down to the, we're getting there. We're getting there. See here, we're pretty close to see here. Oh yeah, that's beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Let it get a little warmed up. See what happens here. It takes a minute to get up the temperature there. Oh yeah. That's pretty normal for one of these type of EC5 fuel injectors. Yes. Yes, 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 yes. I really think this is going to fix it. Before it would try to cut off, I just barely get it. It just like, try to cut off. Now I got a really good movement and motion right there. So that's how you test that throttle position sensor. And a lot of your normal throttle position sensors just have those three tabs. If you see three connections, typically one of them's the center tap, one of them's the up sweep, one of them's the down sweep. When you start dealing with pedal position sensors on vehicles that don't have a throttle cable, you'll notice up to 6 pins, even more, because they'll have multiple throttle position sensors in one package. And the reason for that is because it's such a critical infrastructure the vehicle's running that it has to be sort of like structured the way a spaceship would be. I kid you not. So it'll have a setup called redundancy. And what that means is you'll have two sensors, one up and one down. And you'll have three legs on that to measure the up and down sweep, because you have to have that for that computer system to work. But as one sensor reads up, another sensor actually reads down. And they have to kind of correlate with each other in the position of up and down. They match. And that's called redundancy. And that's how a lot of drive-by-wire systems work on automotive type things. So anyhow, I hope this video helps you. And you can diagnose that the same. A pedal position sensor, you just got to look at both sides of the sensor. And see, that vehicle is so old, you can't really run a. Don't look at my ceiling. You can't run a live data. That's, the EC5 code checking system are lucky to even get codes out of it. A check engine light, but you have a little beeper box, but Ford's is really wonky. So you just about have to go old school and just learn how to test some of these components before you get into all that. When you have an OBD2, you can actually look at live data and watch the correlation of the up and down sweep of those pedal position sensors, but that's a whole other video altogether. But I just hope that this will help people that have some of the older OBS Fords with that wonky fuel injection that everybody hates so much. I want to thank everybody for being here, hanging out. Thank you for watching the We'll Fix It team. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, and also share this stuff out on your social media to help me grow this channel. Peace out.